Get ready, because we're about to dive into Lost Soul Aside. This action RPG, born from the mind of a Japanese anime and video game fan, has arrived on PS5 and PC with a bang that blends the epic with the chaotic. Imagine a cocktail of Final Fantasy XV, Devil May Cry, and a touch of Nier Automata, served with a garnish of Chinese ambition and a dash of surrealism. Is it a masterpiece or a glorious disaster? Stay with me, because in this review, I'm going to break down the brutal and ugly aspects of this game. From the very first moment, Lost Soul Aside slaps you visually. The story begins with Kaser, a young rebel with the look of an anime protagonist, in a world ravaged by war and interdimensional invaders called the Voidraks. His mission: rescue his sister Louisa and stop the villain Ahriman, a nihilistic commander with an air of cosmic grandeur. All of this sounds like a classic JRPG premise, right? But wait, because the game doesn't give you time to breathe. In the first few minutes, you're already dodging meteorites, fighting soldiers, and facing off against an alien creature that becomes your companion, Arena, a dragon with an existential crisis. It's as if the game were saying, here's all the anime in the world in a blender, now drink it. The narrative starts off strong, but beware, not always clearly. The introduction is a whirlwind of spectacular cinematics and dialogue that tries to be profound, but sometimes feels like a montage of anime scenes without subtitles. The hook? The relationship between Kaser and Arena, which promises to explore themes of redemption and trust. However, the narrative doesn't always manage to land its ideas, and this is where the cracks begin to appear. If there's one thing Lost Soul Aside does well, it's the combat. By all the spirits of Ivalice, what an addictive system. Kaser has an arsenal of 4 main weapons: sword, greatsword, scythe, and spear, each with its own attack style. You can switch between them in real time, chaining together combos that make you feel like Dante from Devil May Cry on his best day. Add in Arena, which transforms into special abilities like shields, heals, or devastating attacks, and you have a system that is pure spectacle. Combat is fast, fluid, and visually stunning, with particle and lighting effects that look like something straight out of a Shonen Jump opening. Bosses are the life of the party. Every few steps, you encounter a big boss that seems designed to make you sweat. From a knight who throws poisonous roses, yes, a cheeky nod to Saint Seiya, to an oversized dragon that spits fire like it's Monday morning, these confrontations are epic. Each boss has unique attack patterns, weak points, and a stamina bar that, if filled, unleashes an execution so over the top it looks like it was choreographed by Michael Bay. The feeling of dodging an attack at the last second, activating a combo, and watching the screen explode in color is pure gamer ecstasy. The progression system also scores points. You gain experience to unlock skills in a tree that lets you customize your playstyle. Do you want to be a tank that can take anything? Or a speedster who dishes out blows like you're in a Street Fighter tournament? The flexibility is there, and the game encourages you to experiment. Plus, the level design, with environments ranging from medieval ruins to futuristic cities, is a visual delight that reinforces the feeling of being on an epic adventure. The soundtrack, with its epic choirs and electronic beats, elevates every fight to "I have to record this for my friends" levels. If you like games where you can show off impossible combos and feel like an anime hero, Lost Soul Aside will have you glued to the controller. But not everything is so brilliant, and now comes the part where the game stumbles on its own ambition. Lost Soul Aside's story aims to be profound, but at times it feels like a fanfic written by someone who watched too many episodes of Attack on Titan in one night. Kaser is a protagonist with potential, a young man fighting against oppression, scarred by the loss of his sister, and allied with an alien dragon with a murky past. Sounds great, right? But the script doesn't always live up to it. The dialogue swings back and forth between heartfelt moments and cliched lines that seem ripped from an anime quote generator. One moment, Kaser is giving a speech about saving humanity. The next, he's arguing with Arena over who's the most stubborn. The relationship between the two is the best part of the narrative, but it's not enough to sustain a story that gets tangled up in its own subplots. The game world is another sticking point. On the one hand, the environments are stunning, with details that make you stop and admire the view. On the other, the narrative fails to make you care about what's happening in that world. Supporting characters, like Louisa or the members of the Glimmer Resistance, are flat and lack charisma. There are moments where the game tries to put you in an emotional state, but the execution is clumsy. For example, a scene where a soldier kicks a child, yes, really, is meant to be shocking, but ends up being so absurd that it takes you out of the immersion. It's as if the game doesn't know whether it wants to be an epic drama or an unintentional comedy show. Another issue is the pacing. The dungeons are linear, which isn't a bad thing in itself, but they sometimes drag on longer than necessary, repeating the same mechanics without offering enough variety. The boss fights are great, but some have life bars that seem to never end. It's as if the game is saying, "Look how cool this boss is. Now fight him for 15 minutes longer than you wanted." This lack of polish in the pacing sometimes causes the initial excitement to dilute into frustration. Let's talk about the technical side, because here Lost Soul Aside is a case of so close, yet so far. Visually, the game is amazing. The 4K graphics, with dynamic lighting and ray tracing effects, are truly stunning. The environments, from mystical forests to cyberpunk cities, are full of details that make you forget this started as a one-person project. The soundtrack, as I mentioned, is a perfect complement, with tracks that make you feel like you're in a Hollywood movie. But oh, the technical issues. At launch, the game suffered from stuttering, frame rate drops, and inconsistent textures, especially in the first few hours. Although the developers have promised patches, these bugs can break the experience, especially on PC, where criticism has been harsher. Optimization isn't up to the level you'd expect from a AAA title, and that's a blow to a game that wants to compete with the big boys. Furthermore, the weapon crafting and upgrade system is confusing and visually ugly. Placing items on the weapon holster sounds cool, but in practice, it feels like slapping a giant sticker on an already perfect design. It's like decorating a Ferrari with unicorn stickers. Lost Soul Aside has a flair for the absurd, and it's not always intentional. There are scenes that are so over the top they make you laugh out loud. Remember the kicking of the kid? That's just the beginning. One moment, you're exploring a quiet town, and suddenly, a cinematic throws you into a laboratory where an alien fuses with you. It's as if the game can't decide whether it wants to be Evangelion or Dragon Ball Z. These moments, while sometimes immersion-breaking, give it a unique charm. It's a game that doesn't take itself entirely seriously, and that can be a plus if you're in the mood for something that doesn't play by the rules. We can't talk about Lost Soul Aside without mentioning its development history. This game began as the dream of Yang Bing, a self-taught developer who, in 2014, decided to create his own RPG. What began as a solo project grew into a Sony-backed production through the China Hero Project. This fan makes his own game. Trajectory gives the title an aura of authenticity. It feels like an homage to the JRPGs and hack-and-slash games that inspired Yang Bing, and that passion shines through in every combo, every boss, and every cinematic. However, that same ambition is a double-edged sword. The game tries to cover too much: spectacular combat, an epic narrative, cutting-edge graphics, and an immersive world. It achieves some of these things, but not all. The team's lack of experience is reflected in the technical issues and a narrative that doesn't always live up to its aspirations. Still, it's hard not to admire the effort. Lost Soul Aside is a reminder that video games can be the result of a dream, even if that dream comes with a few nightmares. So, should you play Lost Soul Aside? If you're a fan of hack-and-slash and JRPGs, the answer is a resounding yes, but with nuances. The combat is a gem, the graphics are stunning, and the bosses will have you screaming with excitement. But be prepared for a narrative that doesn't always hit its mark, dungeons that feel repetitive, and technical issues that can drive you crazy. The campaign lasts around 20 to 25 hours, with side quests and a hard mode that add replayability, but the game shines brightest when you let yourself be swept away by its chaos and don't expect a polished masterpiece. Lost Soul Aside is like that friend who shows up to the party wearing a spectacular outfit, only to trip on the carpet as they enter. It's a game that thrills you with its combat and frustrates you with its flaws, but never bores you. If you're willing to forgive its flaws for an action-packed journey of surreal moments, this Chinese RPG has a lot to offer. So, are you up for saving humanity with Kaser and Arena? I'm already packing my sword,